Welcome to another vocabulary lesson. Today we're going to talk about weather and climate. It's a good topic to know about because English people tend to speak about this topic a lot, especially as a means of small talk to get the conversation started. So first of all, I've got some words which I think are connected to freezing cold in one way or another, then some boiling hot words, then some soaking wet words, and then some windy words, and some phrasal verbs at the end. So, chilly, it just means a little bit cold. If you say I'm chilly, it doesn't mean I'm freezing cold, it just means a little bit cold if you're chilly. Frost is the layer of thin ice which you get on the grass or somewhere else when it's been below freezing, when the temperature has been several degrees below freezing, below zero. Then you get a layer of frost on the ground, on the grass, on the tops of houses, you'll even get frost on cars, and frosty would be the adjective. I don't want you to think that it means dew, by the way, which I haven't written down here, and so I'll put it here. Dew is the rain which you see on the grass in the morning dew. It's that water which you see on the grass and other plants in the morning. Frost is the layer of ice. Sleet, I've put it in cold, but I could have put it in wet, really. It's like rain and snow mixed together. It's a mixture of rain and snow, sleet. So it's somewhere in between those two things. Now, snow itself, you can say that snow melts when it turns from snowflakes into water. It melts. You can also say that snow settles, and it means that it lies on the ground and it stays on the ground. So when snow settles, you get a layer of snow. If the ground is too hot, too warm, or too wet, snow will not settle. It will just melt. Okay, another word which is similar to melt is thaw. Ice thaws, and it means it goes from being solid into being liquid, so it becomes a water again. But we very often say the ground thawed out, and it meant that it was frosty and frozen, and now it's gone, it's melted, and it's thawed out, so it's not hard. Ground is usually hard when it's solid, when it's frozen, but when it thaws out, it goes soft again. Okay, a blizzard is a snowstorm. It's any kind of very, very cold snowstorm. When you have these kind of cold conditions, very often there's slippery ice on the roads and on the pavement as well, and so people could easily slip over. It's a good phrasal verb to remember here, and thaw out is a phrasal verb, of course, as well. It just means completely thaws. Okay, if we want to say the temperature is freezing, it's 10 degrees below zero or below freezing, or 20 degrees, or minus 20, you can also say, don't forget minus 20 degrees. And if it's minus 20 and you haven't got the right clothing on, you may be shivering. Your teeth sometimes chatter, which means when you shiver, your teeth chatter together, they knock together. Okay, so they're my cold words. Let's come on to boiling hot words now. If you have a heat wave, it's a sudden period of intense heat. So it's boiling hot, it's scorching hot for a few days or maybe for just one day. An arid climate is a dry climate. Arid is another word for dry, so not much rain in that climate. And if there's no rain at all, we call it a drought. So a drought is when there's no rain for several weeks maybe, and of course it can be very bad. It can lead to famine, which is when the crops fail, the harvest fails, and it's widespread hunger and starvation, you would even say. Famine is a form of widespread starvation, and it happens when there's a drought. Humid, it's perhaps better over in this section. I'm not sure really, but it tells you how much water there is in the air, how much moisture there is in the air. So humidity is the noun, and if you say I live in a humid place, then that means there's a lot of moisture in the air where you live. There's a lot of water in the air. Okay, stifling, it just means, if the day is stifling, it means that you'll find it very difficult to breathe on that day. There doesn't seem to be much oxygen in the air, and so it's a stifling day. It's very similar to stuffy. Stuffy means that there's not much oxygen around, and so on the metro or on the underground it can get very stuffy when it's overcrowded. And when you're in such a place, you very often start sweating. Now, I put shiver as what happens when you're cold to your body. Sweating is what happens when you're hot. It's what your body does. It releases water to cool down. And there's another phrasal verb, cool down. So the body releases water to cool down, and we also call this perspiring, and so the sweat is also called perspiration. Okay, on to soaking wet then. You may get soaking wet if you're really sweating, but soaking wet means very, very, very wet. Now, I hope you all know what a thunderstorm is. It's a storm when you have thunder and lightning. Thunder is the sound, and lightning is what you see. It's the flash in the sky. And so if you are struck by lightning, you're very unlucky, because it means the lightning has hit you and you have been electrocuted in some kind of way. I actually met a guy who was struck by lightning, and you could see the place where the lightning had struck his body. You could see it had left a scar in the shape of lightning. Okay, the next one, hailstones or hail. This is a type of precipitation, and perhaps I should have written that word as well, precipitation, which means basically precipitation, any kind of rain or snow which falls. So hailstones are the little balls of ice which sometimes fall, and they can really hurt when they hit your skin, and so we call that hail or hailstones. Not really any difference. Now, these are all different types of precipitation, and I start off with not very wet, damp, and I finish with flood, which is when people are dying because there's so much water. So damp is just a little bit wet. Drizzle is a bit more. It's drizzly. There's more rain coming down. A light shower is even more. We often say it's spitting if it's a light shower. Then we would say heavy rain, and we'd maybe say it's pouring down or it's chucking it down. So two more phrasal verbs there. It's chucking it down, it's pouring down. It means there's lots and lots of rain. Torrential rain to me sounds like the kind of rain you get in the rainy season in another country. So really bad rain, lots and lots of water in a small amount of time. And if you get lots of this can lead to floods, which just means that if you say the road is flooded, it means you can't use the road because there's so much water. And if the town is flooded, well, a lot of the houses are starting to go under the water, or maybe not completely under, but they're submerged in a large amount of water. Okay, on to winds. A strong wind, this is the word which collocates with wind, strong or light, and we would say a breeze for a very light wind, very, very light wind, and a draft if it's coming through a room. If we mean a breeze going through a room, then we would often say a draft. So you have a light wind, you could have a blustering wind, which is what we have at the moment, looking at the trees outside, and it's just when the wind is quite noisy and it's making the trees make a lot of noise, and so it's blustering. Blustering to me sounds like noisy, and it sounds like a lot of kind of a blow and then another blow and then another blow of wind, a blast of wind, you can also say. Okay, gale force winds are even stronger. These are very, very strong winds. Maybe they will blow down, blow some trees over. It's possible they'll blow some trees over. And if we get even stronger, we come on to hurricane or tornado, which are the really, really strong winds which cause all sorts of damage to property and sometimes a few deaths. Okay, on to phrasal verbs, but I forgot to mention overcast is cloudy, by the way. This is in the soaking wet section because clouds usually lead to rain. And so overcast, it's the same word as cloudy, synonym. Okay, some phrasal verbs. Chill out, it just means relax. If somebody says to you chill out, it means relax. You'll often have chill out rooms in clubs, which is where people relax. They sit on the sofas. You can say the sun was beating down on me, and you know, you're probably sweating if the sun is beating down on you. But you can even say the rain is beating down. So it works well with two things, sun and rain beating down. And it means heavy rain or very hot sun, so it's always extreme. You can also say that cloud blots out the sun. The clouds often blot out the sun here, but they're not at the moment. It looks quite bright outside. So the cloud blots out the sun. It means it moves in front of the sun so that you can't see it. Okay, on to some more phrasal verbs. His face clouded over. This means that he started frowning with anger or dislike in some kind of way. Clouding over is not a positive emotion. It means your face has gone dark in some kind of way. And, you know, it's gone from a sunny face into a darker, kind of more overcast and cloudy face. And so you're frowning. Slip over, I think, is easy. On slippery ice, you often slip over. In the winter, the pipes are frozen up. Yeah, in the winter, the pipes often do freeze up, and it just means that the water inside the pipes freezes, and so the pipes are completely frozen, and you'll need to get a plumber to do something about it. I'm not sure what they will do. Okay, this is strange. Soak up we use with sunshine, and I think that's strange because I told you soaking wet earlier on. Soak normally means get very, very wet, but we collocate this soak up with sunshine, and it works really well in collocations. But it's strange because if you say I got soaked, get soaked means get, or I got drenched. So these are two really for over here. Get soaked, get drenched. It means you get really wet. But when you soak up the sunshine, then you're not getting wet at all. You are sunbathing. You are soaking up the sunshine and enjoying the sunshine. Okay, if you've got a hurricane, the wind can blow the trees over. I think we sometimes say blow the trees over, and I think sometimes we say blow the trees down, because I went to say that earlier, and so maybe both are okay there. I'll have a think about that. And lastly, storm out of the room. This means you left the room in a really angry way. And it's very, very common phrasal verb. He stormed out of the meeting. He was so angry, his face clouded over, and then he stormed out of the meeting. Okay, I hope that's all clear. If you have any questions about any of these expressions and how to correctly use them, please ask me under the video, and I hope to see you all soon.